Hi guys, Jim Arroyo here, Oath Keepers of Yavapai County and the Yavapai County Preparedness Team. We're back with our next video, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk a little bit about the pending, actually we're not even going to call it a pending civil war going on within the United States right now. We believe wholeheartedly that we are already underway with a civil war in this country. We wrote a war game out and we studied this years ago, and we've been prepping our teams for this exact scenario for probably going on 5 years now. And now that it's actually upon us, we're seeing more and more evidence of violence in the streets. Obviously, the election did not go well as of this filming, and we're going to be witnessing more and more problems. One of the things we do is we follow other people's work and other videos out there from other experts in the field. And pretty much across the board, guys, is we are in this. We did a meeting a couple of years ago where our elected representative from Washington, Paul Gauze, came out, and we asked him flat out at that time, do you think we're heading into a civil war? And his response to the group was just flat out, we're in it. We just haven't started shooting at each other yet. What we believe actually probably kicked this thing off was the shooting of Steve Scalise by the opposition party. And there's been a lot of problems with all of the civil unrest in Minneapolis, in Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, New York, obviously. Other places around the country have witnessed civil unrest. And this is a textbook pattern that has developed over the years with other countries. If you want more evidence of where we're headed exactly, and we're getting more and more information from people who either lived in the former Yugoslavia that broke up into Croatia, Serbia, and Bosnia-Herzegovina, and the pattern is exactly the same, but it's also been the same around the world in other civil wars. It starts off with basic civil unrest in the streets, people protesting, and then it turns violent, and they start to fight it out with the police, and then they bring in the military, and then next thing you know, here comes a full communist insurrection, and people start shooting at each other in the streets. Make no doubt in your mind whatsoever that what we are witnessing in the United States right now is a communist takeover. This is an insurgency. And counterinsurgency type operations are very difficult. They're very tricky. The United States military has had to do these things all around the world, and now they're going to need to do it in our own country. I sincerely hope that we get some help with this, because it's not something that the Patriot community by itself can do. Oath Keepers cannot do it by themselves. We can help train people. We can educate people. We can provide some support. But if this goes sideways, it's going to be a major problem. And we're going to give you some tips of the trade here real quick and segue in the next video on what we plan on doing and how we can help you get groups established. But the number one thing we want to warn everybody about, and please pay attention, you need to prepare to defend yourselves, your families, and your neighborhoods. All right, that's what our CPT program is all about, is any kind of natural or man-made disasters. And this is going to be a doozy of a man-made disaster, no two ways about it. So defense of yourself is absolutely critical. If you are firearms qualified and you're in an area in the country, and this is not just for Yavapai County, Arizona, where we're armed to the teeth and we can walk around and go into Safeway with a machine gun if we want to. Perfectly legal here. Other parts of the country, not so much. But firearms is absolutely a mandatory item that everybody needs to be trained in. If people need to get to the range, get qualified. You need to get guns as quickly as you can, because they're disappearing out there, as you see in most stores. The real problem is the ammunition. And I want to go into that in just a second here. But before I do, I want to give a major shout out to a friend of ours who's been part of our organization, has trained us, and has an expertise in this field specifically. I want to talk about a gentleman by the name of Jack Lawson. And people always ask us, well, what's your plan? Well, this is part of the plan. This is not the whole plan. But this is the Civil Defense Manual written by Jack Lawson, who wrote the book along with Mike Garan called A Failure of Civility. And that manual is no longer available. A lot of you out there have A Failure of Civility. If you do, read it, study it. It's critical. This is the upgraded version. It's actually 2 volumes, and it's the same size as the original one as far as each manual, but it's a 2-volume set. It's only available in 2 sets. The way you get a hold of this is go to civildefensemanual.com, and it's online only. Just go ahead and put your credit card in and get it coming. This right here, especially for you new folks that are brand new to the prepping survival game, brand new to any of this type of disruption, and you don't understand what's going on, this will help you to understand. There's a lot of contributing authors that help provide this manual. Jack put it all together. Jack himself is a Rhodesian light infantry veteran, served in the Rhodesian conflict back in the 80s and the late 70s, and he watched this happen in his country. And you have to understand that these patterns are all the same. A country can fall to communism without firing a shot. It's happened before. But if it does get bloody and it does turn to a shooting war, this type of information in here is going to help train you, your family, your groups, your teams, whatever your position is, whether you're a militia unit or whether you're a disaster preparedness team like we are, the Oath Keepers. This kind of information is invaluable. So we highly recommend that. And we're going to talk more about that later. So let's get back to weapons and ammunition. As of this filming, there's been a run on guns and ammo in this country. I work in the firearms industry full-time. I'm a full-time custom gunsmith and custom gun builder. So I deal with this on a daily basis. Right now, actually, guns are easier to get a hold of than the ammunition. Because there's been such a large influx of people coming into the firearms community that have never owned a gun in their life. And what we can tell you right now, I'll just give you some very simple stats. During the Obama administration at the peak, the NICS background check system did a little over 7 million background checks in 1 year. That set a record. Now, keep in mind that does not count private party sales or people with concealed weapons permits, because those statistics do not get turned over to the FBI. All the FBI knows about is when they run a background check, and it's for so many firearms, they can count that, but the rest they don't count. So that 7 million figure is at the low end. It's actually higher than that. What we can tell you is based on this year, 2020, as of June of this year, the FBI had already done 10 million background checks. So we blew away the old record by more than 3 million in 6 months. We are on schedule right now, I believe, that by the end of December 31st, we will more than double that figure. We're looking at over 20 million background checks in 1 year. And what I can tell you, and this is pretty much, we talk to each other in the firearms industry, the large amount of people buying guns right now, it's in the 30 to 40 percentile range of brand new, first time, never owned a gun in their life. Maybe they shot a gun with a family member when they were children, but they have no experience and no training whatsoever. So here's the problem. And we're very happy with the vast majority of these people because they're asking for classes and training. And here in northern central Arizona, we've got a lot of places we can send them to. Here's the problem logistically. There's no ammo available. You can't just go and buy 1,000 rounds of 9mm and go and take a gun sight course or head for front sight or insight or any of these other training facilities and just go and get in there and start shooting. What I'm going to recommend to you right now, because rimfire ammunition is available, is get your rimfire guns out, clean them and lube them up, and use those to train brand new people. Because the ammunition's available cheap, it's out there in more places than 9mm, 45, 40 Smith & Wesson ball ammo is non-existent. 38 357 is gone. So a lot of the guns that you may have, if you don't have a large stock of ammo, you're not going to be able to train, and that's an issue. So please get out there, get your guns, get ammo, start training people up. If you've got new people with guns, teach them what you can. You can do a lot of dry training. You can do a lot of safety type training. Work on sight picture, trigger control. Be careful with rimfire guns. Don't dry fire them without a snap cap. You'll damage your breech face. But on center fire guns, you can dry fire. And then when you get the opportunity, get to the range and get some training in. And get some good training. I don't mean go out in the forest and set up tin cans and plink. You don't have the time for that, and you can't afford to waste that ammo. So get out there and get trained up. Here is the next area we want you to focus on. If in fact, and we believe this to be accurate, we are in the very beginning phases of a full-scale kinetic civil war. Kinetic meaning being a military term, means we're going to start shooting at each other here pretty soon. Your medical training is going to be vital. We've talked about this before. We recommend people get a Stop the Bleed course in, where you can learn to use the cat tourniquet, a rat's tourniquet, which we teach in our course, the soft T or soft T wide, either one. But the tourniquet training is critical. Also wound packing. With or without a hemostatic agent. All a hemostatic agent is in your combat gauze, which is god-awful expensive stuff, is kaolin clay. Regular gauze will work just fine. You're just going to have to hold pressure a little bit longer. Rule of thumb, hemostatic agent impregnated, you're going to have to hold pressure about 3 minutes. Standard gauze, you're going to need to hold about 10 minutes. Pressure bandages, get your Israeli bandages, order them online. Have a lot of pressure bandages on hand. Here's another area, burns. We just did this in our trauma team training. We're focusing on burns because obviously Antifa likes to throw Molotov cocktails and they like to set things on fire, including themselves. It's quite comical to watch them in the street set each other on fire. But burns are serious. So get some burn training in. Learn what to do, how to treat a victim, how to transport a burn victim. Things of this nature are absolutely critical for your trauma teams. Get your medics out there to start working with you. Another area, and we just did this yesterday in our trauma team training, we went over fractures, how to splint, how to deal with compound fractures, how to deal with sprains and strains, how to use the splints. Universal splints from Elite First Aid, or what we call the SAM splint, which is an aluminum type splint that rolls up, very compact, fits in your aid bags very nicely. So study fractures, how to treat those things, how you're going to transport people, because in civil unrest, they're not coming in to help you. The firefighter paramedics are just not going to be there. We're talking about medical training and having equipment with you. A standard IFAC. This is a tactical trauma kit. It's not a full IFAC, but I've modified it. What's most important is when you open that IFAC up, you're going to find all kinds of things in it. And I've modified this one. This is not a standard one from Elite First Aid. And I added a cat tourniquet onto the back with some small bungee cords. Believe it or not, these are for tying hair, and they work great for securing gear to any kind of molly gear. Don't steal your wives. Go over to the store and grab a bunch of these things. They're cheap, and you can put a lot of gear on there. It keeps it very secure. It's not going to go anywhere. This one eventually will come out of the wrapper for deployment. Right now, this is an experimental deal. But make sure that when you guys buy your IFACs, when you pull things out, you know what they are and you know how to use them. Okay, quick clot gauze. That's one of the first things you're going to grab in a major bleed. You've got a pressure bandage here, an Israeli pressure bandage, one of the smaller ones. You've got elastic bandages, which improvise again for any kind of a compression bandage. You can use that. This is a adhesive type wrap that'll hold securely. But it's important, and the way we train our students is when you open that IFAC up, with however it's set up, you need to know how to use every piece of equipment in there. Now, we teach ours a little bit differently based on the Elite First Aid system. We have a level 1 and a level 2. This one is building itself up to be a level 1 kit, eventually a level 2. But what's critical is to have the CAT tourniquet, an Israeli pressure bandage. You're going to need a decompression needle for tension pneumothorax, and you're going to need some type of quick clot gauze or compression gauze for wound packing. So medical training right now, we don't expect everybody to be Army Rangers or Green Berets or Navy SEALs or Marine Recon. What we do expect you to do is be ready to take care of yourself. So having certain items on your body, if this goes sideways, is going to be critical. Remember, an IFAC is for you. What's in there, if one of our medics come along, they're going to use your IFAC to patch you up. If you don't have one, then they'll resort to their Combat Lifesaver kit or their full aid bags. So get your medical kits together and start training. Okay, let's talk a little bit about communications. And you're going to get your tip of the day right here blended inside of the video. Communications, absolutely vital. What we recommend you do is go with either the Baofeng UV5Rs, the UV82s. There's several of them out there that all operate basically the same way. We chose the 5Rs because, one, they're inexpensive, they're real cheap radios, but they work well, they're pretty durable, they hold up. I can tell you right now, they don't like water and they don't like heat. You leave this up on the dashboard of your car, you'll destroy the radio. But they don't like water. There's simple techniques for waterproofing it with just a Ziploc bag. You can pull it over the top of the antenna, tape it off, Ziploc the bottom. You can still work your controls, and it's completely waterproof. So for about 10 cents worth of a freezer bag, you turn a cheap radio into a good operational radio. Another thing we want you guys to be aware of, and we have tested these in the field. This particular one here is made by Aubree, A-B-B-R-E-E. Just go on to Amazon, and what this is a foldable antenna. I don't know if this is going to show in the video, but it's A-B-B-R-E-E, Aubree. And what you do, we're going to just set this up real quick. The difference in this antenna versus the standard antenna that comes with the radio, or even the other whip antennas that are available. The Nagoya NA771 type antennas are just like this, only longer. They're 15 inches. This antenna is a foldable one, okay? This is a military style antenna. They're very inexpensive. These are 12 to 15 bucks online, and you will not believe the difference in the reception and the transmission capability of this antenna. For you tactical guys, we wear these on our equipment up here where we can get at our control panels and we can see what's going on, and then we can fold this up and use the Velcro strap to keep it secure. You can use the radio just like this. You don't have to extend it. We can talk inter-squad, inter-platoon, or within our teams with it just like this, or we can just pop it up. So that's a real good accessory. We highly recommend those. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment compared to the standard type antennas. If you want to get real crazy, now look at the distance you have, okay? This makes a huge difference. This increases range, reception. This is actually made by a company called Bing Fu. It's a Chinese radio antenna, which is pretty good quality. They did a good job. They're just like the Aubrees, same technology, but it's something in the way this is designed that these antennas do a tremendous amount of improvement to your standard radios. And then this will also fold again if you need it to. So they're very compact, but that's something we recommend right there is get your accessory antennas for your radios. So communications. All you military guys out there, I'm former 75th Ranger Regiment. Everybody's taught the same thing. If you ain't got commo, you ain't got jack. You need to be able to communicate person to person, team to team, squad to squad, platoon to platoon, whatever, back to base stations. These little radios have a tremendous range. With this radio in an emergency, I can hit a repeater station more than 35 miles away line of sight because the mountain's up high. I got direct access to it. We can communicate rather long range. At close range, several miles, no problem. What we absolutely recommend is that you learn how to use this. In our organization, in the Oath Keepers of Yavapai County, if you come to our training, we have a beginner radio course. We provide these radios at the meeting. You can get them cheaper online yourself. What we do is we provide a service and we raise a few dollars for the chapter to help get other equipment we're going to need. But we sell them for $45 with the longer antenna, pre-tuned, pre-checked out. They are all programmed and inspected, so when you get your radio, you go right into the class and you sit in on the Basic 101 course we put together. And they'll run you through the whole gamut of how to use it, what it does, what it doesn't do. For you more technical guys out there, this is a 2-meter 440, so it's on the 70 centimeter band. We also have FRS, GMRS, and the MERS frequencies in our program. And then at the end of our program, we have all of our local police and fire frequencies in there. So it does have scan capability, or you can just go to each channel and monitor your local frequency. So there's a lot you can do with it. You can go on to YouTube. You can go to MeWe.com actually and see our video. I believe it's also on YouTube. Go to MeWe.com and look up groups. Go to Yavapai County Preparedness Team, and you'll see information there on our radios. Also go to YouTube under Yavapai County Preparedness Team, and all of our videos will come up of other things we've done at our meetings and other trainings I've done. And we posted Alan's course on there, and it's a great class. You get a chance to sit through that. You can't make it to a meeting, or you're somewhere else in the country, you can watch our exact class as presented, and it's about a 2-hour block of instruction on how to use this radio, and it'll answer a lot of questions. We do recommend that everybody get their ham radio license, because that's critical. You're going to be able to transmit in training a lot more often. Obviously, in an emergency, you do not have to have a license. An example, here's a scenario. You're driving down the highway, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're in a dead zone with your cell phone. With your radio, this will hit every repeater in the state of Arizona as long as you know what county you're in. And we have a frequency chart that goes with it. You can look it up and you can call for help. That's perfectly legitimate. FCC says in any kind of an emergency, if it's a life-threatening situation, you can call for help. So, but if you want to train and really get good with a radio, get your ham radio license. It's not that hard. Okay, as far as the pending situation with this civil war that we're about to enter in here, and it's going to escalate, there's no two ways about it. What we recommend, especially for your neighborhood groups, which we're going to talk about in our next video, is observation training. This is critical, and real quick, I'm going to just touch on situational awareness. All right, you guys are out and about, the way things are going, you're seeing videos of Antifa and BLM coming up and cold cocking people and injuring people in the streets. When you're out there, you need to keep your head on a swivel. You don't need to have your cell phone doing this while you're walking around, going in and out of the grocery store. Put your phone away, go inside the building where it's safe, pay attention to your surroundings, and have good situational awareness. Be looking all around you. Don't be a good victim. Predators look for the weak. If you're alert and you're looking around and they know you're there to defend yourself, they're going to go on to somebody else. So be cognizant of that. Part of observational training, though, in the future is there's going to be problems out there. So one thing we do is we teach the SALUTE report. SALUTE is a simple acronym. It's actually a mnemonic, and the military uses this. And quite simply, the word salute, S is size, A, activity, L, location, U, unit, T, time and date, E, equipment. So let's go over those really quick. Size, what are the numbers? How many are out there? If we're taking a report down for law enforcement, we want to count the number of people that may be approaching to do damage to buildings or whatever. Activity, what is it they're doing? Are they carrying Molotov activities? Are they carrying weapons, shields? Are they carrying bricks, anything to cause problems? Location, make sure in the military it's grid coordinates. For you guys in the civilian world, it's cross street locations, okay? Know where you're at. Unit uniform, most of these guys are not in any kind of visible uniform. However, Antifa, for the most part, you will see a distinctive dress code. It's all black. That is their uniform. There's no insignia, there's no rank, but they're pretty easy to spot. A lot of them these days are now wearing a face covering that has the hammer and sickle. Mark my words, these guys are hardcore communists and they're not playing games. T, time and date, that's important. Make sure you log the time and date. And then equipment, what are they carrying? So you can notify law enforcement that there's a large crowd heading towards an area that looks like they're there to disrupt. Okay. Salute reports can be handwritten out and stored and passed on to either law enforcement or to the members of your team up at the higher ends. Intelligence information. It's very important to gather all the information you can and pass that along to either law enforcement or eventually the military and to your security detachments. Definitely, if you have security teams out there, they're going to want to know this. So give them good, detailed information. Don't just say, oh yeah, I think I saw a couple of guys over there that looked like they were involved in something shady. It doesn't work that way. We need you to be good witnesses. Write it down in detail. If you see something happening, law enforcement is going to want to know about it. They cannot be everywhere at once. So be a good witness. Watch what's going on. Don't interject yourself unless you are highly trained and highly skilled and with a good team. Do not interject yourself into some of these situations. We already saw last night at the Trump rally in Washington, D.C., there was violence. So don't get involved in that if you can help it. But be there to protect your neighborhood. Be a good citizen. If you see something, you say something. All right? We'll talk about the NPGs on the follow-up video. Thanks, guys.